Welcome back, everybody, for the energy tips for week 7. That is the 9th till 15th of February. Being a heart warrior. I want to explore with you what this actually means to be authentic and to make a stance for what feels true, what feels right in your heart. My name is Jona Bryndis, and I'm an energy therapist and energy healer, guiding you here through next week's collective energies so that you can get a heads up on maybe what to expect or tips that can help you to get through them a little better. There is a luck factor or fortune factor that I mentioned in the energy forecast that is coming through here today on this full moon day. And it wants us to disrupt something. It's the disruptor luck, okay? So if you have been feeling stuck in something, if you have been carrying something with you here for these past months or years that you don't seem to be able to shake off, or something that you've started, I've asked you to look at the time capsules that are coming out, that are surfacing in the sand or from the water right now. The one being a year and a half ago, one being last summer, and there is one right now that was only buried in November 2019. So something that you have started wanting to change, or where you had new plans, where you had a new energy coming in, this is coming out for you now. This is really bursting out in luck, in a grand finale, so to speak, if you have the courage to choose your heart. This can be very challenging, and obviously when we hear those things, then we are asking ourselves, oh, everybody has luck, and me, here I am. This is directly addressed at your resistances and the things that you're avoiding. Ask yourself what it is that actually needs to be disrupted. Getting yourself out of the way is too general. This makes us feel lost. But getting one specific thing out of the way might work for you. I've noticed that a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed right now, that they're feeling like they have too many monkeys on their backs. All right, and this is because we've done or made too many compromises. We've agreed to doing things or promised to do things, or maybe made contracts that are no longer true to us, or maybe they were never true to begin with, but we couldn't see this before. And now they're starting to really create this burden on our shoulders that's dragging us back. This is what needs to be disrupted, guys. And if you don't know what this is, because sometimes it can be many little things that over time build up to this barrier that is so hard to get past. So this is why we feel overwhelmed. And last week we talked about not wasting our life force. This week in the Truth Talk I mentioned what it means to grow, and actually what it means to trying to stop growth or to diminish it. And we're going directly against our authentic self there. We're going directly against our true nature. And it's a humongous waste of life force. So if we are feeling we have too many monkeys on our back, then that's because we are wasting our energy on things that are not supportive for our life force, that are not supportive for our growth. So really, all we need to do, this is my main energy tip here for this week, is to prioritize correctly. And if you don't know where to start, then look at all these things that you really dread doing, that are really weighing on you, and write them all down. And then pick one a day. Or if there are bigger things, then organize them. But my tip is to really address the one that is the worst for you, the one that you dread the most, to do this one first, because it will unlock life force and then give you so much more energy and so much more creativity to deal with all the others. You know how this goes, right? Because there is something locked up along with this, and when you consciously choose to unlock it, all this other energy that has been kept under pressure, so to speak, is coming out now. And this is probably what feels so lucky and so fortunate, because our manifestation energies are going into turbo mode right away. All right, so authenticity is not just about slowing down or cutting out the things that are not authentic. Authenticity is also really finding out who I am right now, and if a task or a compromise or a contract or even a commitment that I've made a while ago is no longer supportive for me, then it is my utmost responsibility, my self responsibility, to change that. And that's the disruption here. The cool thing about this, because this week is a really cool week for not just unlocking things, but also really to go into this invigorated, inspired place where new things really, really want to come in. So all we really got to do is take the door stopper away, and unlock the door, and the door is going to open up for us and bring these things in. But we have to have that courage to get past these things that are no longer truthful commitments for us. Now, what you will also notice is that as you begin to work on these things, they are also increasing your self-worth. You begin to feel more self-aware, and you begin to feel more strong with yourself, stronger with yourself, which will then shift your energy into feeling more self-worth. In the true self talk, I call this true self consciousness. It's something that comes in when you know that you are true to yourself. It really helps you to master all these challenges in your daily lives, simply because you have nothing that is conflicting inside, nothing that is really stressing you out. Now, some of you might actually feel right now that you want to go inward a bit, and that's a good time for this, because integrating truth so that we can become this true self, this authentic self, has to do with individuation, has to do with finding out who we truly are. And sometimes we have to go through a phase where we make a reset. Maybe we got too wrapped up in our families or in our relationship or in our job, and we need a little bit of downtime. Here, I want to really point out that when you take downtime, when you decide to go into this being state, and the fear comes in, the fear that you might lose your partner, or the fear that you might lose out on something, or that you don't feel worth anything because you're not performing, you're not productive or anything, then you really need to look at what comes in for you, what this fear is linked to. That's where you gonna find some of your compromises, some of these monkeys that I talked about. Because if you do not have the freedom to decide to choose yourself without the fear of losing something else, or without the fear of other people feeling that it's against them, or that you are insecure, that they become insecure about you, then there is a bigger problem underneath. That means that either you don't feel safe in your relationship, or the other person doesn't feel safe. And then the main subject to discuss, the main focus should be how to feel safe with another. Because if we don't allow each other to take this freedom to be, then how can we fill this up as a relationship? How can our relationship be if it's all just about productivity, or being there for the other, or sort of in a codependent way, just complying with what is expected? Sometimes in those kind of conversations, you'll find out that what you've assumed or concluded is expected from you was really just in your mind. It's very, very cool when you have this kind of truth talk with your partner, when you find out that they actually fully agree, but maybe because both of you haven't really taken advantage of this or in the past, or you haven't really allowed yourself to do things on your own because you felt like this would maybe hurt the other person's feelings, or because you're afraid that the other would do it too, and therefore you wouldn't be able to control this anymore. You know, that when you talk about all these things, how wonderful it is to reassure another here. This is a very constructive thing to do, to really honor the importance and the sacredness of being with yourself, individuating, integrating, being calm, not constantly pushing out or projecting anything, but just being okay to be. And this is where this getting yourself out of the way comes from, because we have a certain idea of a self, the false self typically, what we think we have to be, and that's typically in the way of really allowing ourselves to grow. So in the Truth Talk, we talked about growth in relationship and what this means and how it is defined, how we can tell that we can grow or that our relationship is growing. And the main things to look at here have to do with honoring the other person as a true self as well. So the moment you really begin to feel what it means to be and what it means to be true to yourself, you recognize that everybody's on the same journey and that your partner has a true self, true authentic self as well. And that it's just as important for the other person to figure this out or to feel this out as it is for you. And what happens then is that our relationships, and not just our romantic relationships, obviously also our work relationships or in families, they become relaxed or they become less tenseful simply because people can feel this, that you are more relaxed, that you are, more open and more freedom giving. All right, so freedom is always something that requires us to give it as well, not just to take it. In most of the other areas of our lives, we will recognize replications of this, these heart warrior moments where you really have to make a stance for what is true for you in your heart, and the commitment that is required for you to do this. Okay, so that requires courage, and this courage then turns into a commitment towards yourself and your truth, all right, that is now integrating for you. In context with being a heart warrior, committing means to commit yourself to what you love and what you stand for. And here's also something that came up in November, and that is to focus on the essential, to focus on what really matters for you. This is coming back right now. So any kind of conditional love or love with sacrifice, or look at me, all the things that I'm doing for you, I'm only doing this because I love you. Okay, those are all binds and ties and manipulation games. Guys, there is no honor in sacrifice. This is very, very important for us to understand. This needs to be disrupted as well. So let's look how this translates into the collective here for this next week. Overall, we're still in the process of making the unconscious conscious. Revelations of truth, discoveries, and all kinds of, sort of truth hitting the fan, okay? And it's amazing how some people are still not wanting to see truth, so that is something that you maybe experience right now, okay? You can't change that. This has to do with the bifurcation that I talked so many times about over the years, where we split in the way we perceive ourselves and the world, namely that we choose basically the lower vibratory life, and in that place we cannot actually see truth. So don't judge people if they're incapable of seeing truth or feeling it. The only thing that they haven't done yet is to really take the time to integrate truth and to actually feel what it means to them when it's true. So we all have to develop our own integrity, and we all have to stand for our own values. And collectively, this means at this very moment that if you look at countries and nations and so forth, that they're all going back to nationalism to a certain degree, where they pull out of the globalization. This is a little pullback here in this overall global transformation, where we are now realizing that we are all one, but we still don't like it quite yet, because we all have our own karma and our own things that we need to contend with. So on a collective level, this means for all of us who can see truth to be patient and to not get pessimistic about this. It is the confrontation with untruths that allows us to grow into truth. Never forget this, all right? So don't judge others, don't judge the leaders, the nations. Right now, they're going through this individuation process, and they're doing it a little too far out there. That needs to be corrected. And this is what these next year and a half are for this correction process. Okay, so we're seeing that. We'll also see a little bit of an eruption of grandiosity here. I'm literally waiting every day for something very surprising to happen. When I say eruption of grandiosity, it could be anything from, a huge sort of global event to, one of the leaders really losing it. Who knows? But there is this energy right now that is just waiting for something really big to come out. No reason to be afraid. It's more like coming into the light, even if it is untrue. Chakra-wise, the three main chakras here activated in this week are the first. This is ongoing. This has to do with feeling safe, going out into the world, coming back in, integrating this, what we have learned about ourselves, maybe correcting things, that happens through the feedback of going out and then going back out again, renewed and really feeling that we can bring something new here into the world. Our fourth chakra, this has to do with what our heart commands us as truth. And this is very, very strong in this week. So it's kind of cool that this falls into the Valentine's Day week. Here are, this is a week where a lot of commitments and contracts and vows are made. So a good reminder to really listen to our heart. But remember, when I talk about heart, I'm not talking about our emotions. I'm talking about this really centered place in us that is connected with our true self. And then the third aspect here that comes in affecting our chakras is our sixth chakra, the ability to see truth, the ability to vision, through what we are experiencing on the outside, maybe what the collective matrix is producing for us. And it requires us to make a little bit of a leap here. So this is where the courage and the disruptor is located in our sixth chakra, guys. So that's interesting here, this combination. All right, because our sixth chakra is normally, responsible for our visions and for, our higher perception, for our third eye. And this week, it comes in as something that will assist us to have this courage to make a leap. Very, very interesting. So our visions are producing something like a leap energy for us, if they are true. All right, that's the fortune aspect of this. Physically, how will this translate here? Most likely, well, it's really all about this recreation and integrating, okay? Recreating ourselves in this karma internalized place. So we need to go within. This is a really, really good week for body love, and really connect with the wisdom of our body. What does our body want to show us? The feelings, the sensations, the emotions, and the pains and tensions that we have. There's a lot of wisdom in there because our body too is connected with a miraculous self-healer. All right, so to tune into this, we really need to reunite with the self-healer within us. So take it easy, find out what it is really unique about you, what is, something that comes up for you when you go deep within. What is it that you feel there as your medicine? That's what a medicine is. A medicine, in the Native American sense, is more like a power rather than a remedy. So I want you to see this as, what is your unique power? What are you really, really good at? Not in regards to performance or purpose or productivity, as we talked about earlier, as in what comes out of you if you just get yourself out of the way, if you just let go into this, relaxed space when you can allow yourself to do this. And you don't need any good reason for this. All you really need is to tell yourself, I am giving my body some love. I'm giving it some relaxation before I go to work, instead of hasting and jumping, from one thing to the next and always being under time pressure. All right, really feel into what your system does when it is actually in its most natural self-healing state. If you are sick right now, which is obviously seasonal, what is concerning me though is the number of people who are not really connected and not really listening to their bodies. So here is, something where you got to remember that if you get sick, that means you went too far. Okay, maybe you got too inspired last week because there was a lot of sort of fresh, new energy coming in, buzzing energy, and it got us all into like getting up and doing things. And now we're like, either stiff or sick. All right, a lot of you guys have issues with their lower backs right now. So take it easy, guys. Support yourself here, all right? Emotionally, here in these full moon days, it's a natural thing to go inward. So all these things that I've talked about earlier, they all basically relate to this. All right, so we want to reflect emotionally what it is actually that we have been able to learn from the last year and a half or the last 30 years if we are old enough. What made me wiser here, and what are these things that I mentioned earlier in regards to unconditionality? Do I really feel unconditional towards myself or my partner, or do I feel self-conscious and do I feel resentments about what I do? Guys, this is the core of most of your guys' anxiety and depression. So to turn your self-conscious problem into an active and true self-consciousness, all right, you need to really look at what you need. And if you go beyond your needs here, if you are only there for others, or if you do things that you assume are expected from you, then you cannot expect your emotional health to be all up there and, balanced. And, this isn't about being happy all the time, right? This is about you understanding how you can really control your emotions, not as in repressing them, but as in mastering them. So the barometer, we don't have a barometer anymore, but the barometer is on self-mastery right now. So we really want to go into this emotionally mature place with ourselves and find out what it is that we keep doing over and over again that puts us into this lower emotional place. And for many of us, it is the past. Mentally, intellectually, well, this is a wonderful time to disconnect a little bit from whatever it is that you think you need to do, from whatever it is that other people are thinking. It's a time of independent thinking, of really feeling into, not just what your medicine is in regards to, some of your activities or skills or physical aspects, but also what your medicine is in regards to your wisdom, maybe, without, going into a super grandiose complex or anything, but allow yourself to develop a new vision. There's also a legacy aspect here right now where we kind of want to look into the future and see, what it actually is that we can do with the remaining time that we have here, all right, where we really want to set our mark. And it's okay to make spontaneous decisions this week because we have this luck factor on our side if it is supportive and if it leads us to more truth. Overall, what we really want to practice is non-reaction. So we want to practice this neutrality with ourselves so that we are calm enough and relaxed enough to review things. This is also what allows us to prioritize and to really feel what is essential and what is not. Right? And when you get into that place, then it becomes super easy to accept things, not to suck them up or tolerate things, but to accept some of the things that you cannot change. All right, and it allows you to see which of the things you can change, and that's then where you need to focus your attention to. That's then where you can make decisions, where you really turn into this heart warrior, this inner leader in you, where you stand for something. One thing I noticed when it comes to decisions like that, and also this reprioritizing and so forth, is that a lot of people get hung up on not wanting to do or resisting the inevitable. This next week is a really, really good week for you to sort all this, all right? There are some things in life that are inevitable, okay? Some things you would just, no matter how much you try to hide from or avoid or run away from or fight against, you can't win, all right? And that too has to do with integrity and maturity, okay? To really pinpoint the inevitable on different levels, it can be simple things such as if I don't sleep enough, then obviously I'm not really going to function that well. If I don't go grocery shopping, then I don't have food the next day. If I don't put gas in the car, then, my car is not going to drive. If I don't pay my taxes, I'm going to have an issue with money sooner or later. Things like this, the inevitable. If I avoid my relationship partner, don't listen to his needs, or don't give an opportunity for the relationship to grow through conversation and so forth, then the relationship is going to go down. All right. If I don't spend any time with my partner or the people that I love, well, then the stuff is going to build up. So this is the inevitable. This is what I mean with the inevitable. It can be different on different levels of being. Socially, I've mentioned this before here in this Valentine's week, it's really about actively aligning to true love, to this unconditional love, and to maybe also test our relationship a bit on that, because this luck factor and this quantum leap energy and this disruptor and courage thing, it might actually lead to you or your partner doing some things, that upset the other. Okay, and here is where it's really, really important to have that truth talk with another, to renegotiate things, to say, hey, like I've modeled this in the truth talk, this no longer works for me, or this is not where I want to go, or I'm not willing to settle for anything that is not true to me. If you have a hard time to say, I can't do this because this doesn't feel true to me, then you really, really need to practice this with yourself and others, to say, I'm doing this because it feels true to me, or because it feels right to me. And if you want to add another level of practice to this, then you can start giving yourself some more space and say, I'm doing this just because I feel like it. just like our kids do. They have no problems with saying that because I feel like it. For as long as you're not violating any, golden rule that you become selfish through this or that things go out of balance. All right, this is a wonderful practice for all of us. Just because I feel like it. And spiritually, the part that I mentioned in the beginning about recognizing your own true self, being sort of the mediator between your soul self and your ego self. I mean, other people have this too. And, when it comes to relationships, it's really, really important to honor this in the other person. And sometimes, the thing that's so hard for us to trust in our partner can be done through a spiritual connection, through an etheric connection, where you just simply communicate with the true self of the other and, trust in the true self, empower the true self of the other person. There's nothing different there on that other person's level. It all works in the same way as it does for you, regardless of the level of consciousness that we have. Also, and this has to do with some of our spiritual beliefs, maybe it's really important next week to follow your inner calling. If you feel called to something, then see this as part of your divine nature coming into expression. It's the pathway to this higher potential, the higher expression in you, not things out of a whim or based on ego payoff or specialness of any kind. No. Things that you've been feeling for a long time, a calling. All right, give this a chance. It's very, very important that you understand that when you suppress this or when you go against it, that you're actually going against your divinity, you're going against your higher self, basically. All right, and energetically, then obviously we have to really deal with how to shift our energy in those moments where we can get pulled either into the past or into something where we are in our own way, whatever it is that blocks us. And this shifting energy goes, of course, in different phases, but it has to do with us, first and foremost, being able to arrive in the now, in our present moment awareness. And that requires us to know how to ground our energy, how to feel our center, how to center correctly, and how to clear things, just the gunk that we accumulate from throughout the day regularly. It also, for many of us, me being one of them, asks us to really go into this more healed and more balanced masculine and feminine energy exchange within ourselves. I've noticed that these last weeks since the beginning of the year, I have been pushing out so much and really sort of using this masculine energy that I have without taking enough time for self-nurturing and even nurturing, my loved ones, the more feminine side of me. And that really, really wants to come forward here in this week right now. I'm feeling drawn to baking cakes every day and being there for my children and being there for all the people that are currently here in my life who are very important to me. Okay, so this is something that we really need to tune in. And the way we shift our energy, guys, is always the same mechanism. And I'm going to give you a little preview here because I already have a video out there on this. And the first thing is always the acceptance, okay? Just like, okay, I'm feeling this or that, all right? And then comes the disruptor, okay? I need to stop what is going on because without stopping, I can't create more space to actually review or go within. And then I need to realign myself. And then I need to make more new choices. And then I have to have the courage and the discipline to embody these choices, to actually do them. And that then, if I keep doing this over and over again, turns naturally into a devotion, the devotion to the inner heart warrior, that lives in a life where the heart is not yet a priority for others, All right, and so we have to be a little bit of a warrior to withstand the insanity and the materialism that is still sort of ruling this lower expression of most humans. And once we do that and shift our energy on an ongoing basis, always being in the present, then, it turns into a devotion to our own soul self. That's how easy that really is, because life then becomes less of a struggle. We no longer feel that we are in our way. We actually feel that we are walking towards ourselves, because that is really what this is like. We're on our path to become one with our soul self, with all the different aspects and components that still need to be healed, that still need to be unraveled or unlocked. So in this sense, I'm wishing you guys a wonderful next week. Hope that you can get a little bit of downtime, a little bit of relaxation. Hope that you get some beautiful moments with your loved ones, and that you can see what it is that needs to be disrupted. Okay? So have a wonderful week, and I see you next week. Bye-bye.